V is a simple game. It's a precision platformer reminiscent of a retro style. Kinda like every precision platformer ever, but V commits to this 8-bit simplicity, especially with its very straightforward platforming premise. What if you reversed gravity instead of jumping? The title V derives from the names of the 6 crew members, along with the vertical flipping that replaces the jump button. Its tight jumps, original mechanics, and plain graphics make it even more straightforward than most indie platformers. The majority of the game is contained within this square map that you explore throughout your playthrough, your goal being to find and complete each area and recover your lost crew members. V's levels can be hard, but they never feel that complicated. It's the way that the developers constructed V that keeps you moving. Its simple rooms and fantastic soundtrack push you onwards. The first level is pretty effective at getting you started, mostly just moving platforms and enigmatic creatures that the developers claim were inspired by dreams. Later in the game, you go back to the bottom of the levels, reminding you of the beginning with the addition of these conveyor belts. The tower has the best song in the game and contains this huge, flashing, auto-scrolling level that splits up the entire map. The bounce level includes these white wires which serve as trampolines that flip the gravity in midair as soon as you touch them. Some are placed vertically while others are horizontal, making the main flipping mechanic of the game a lot more interesting. There's a section where you have to lead another crew member through the level, except they can't flip, so you have to guide and maneuver them through spikes and moving platforms. V's famed Gravitron has you infinitely flipping between these 2 trampolines, avoiding shapes pouring through both sides of the screen. Still one of the harder parts of the game for me. Mesmerizing levels that teleport you to the opposite side of the screen lead to tricky platforming sections where you have to be pretty aware of where you'll end up. The ending of the game combines multiple mechanics: the trampolines, the red spikes, the enemies bouncing from place to place, conveyor belts, moving platforms, the tower is back, a celebration of the complete game. V as a game is a bit on the shorter side, taking you about 2.5 hours to fully beat. But the game makes up for this with its endless replayability. One of the game's strengths is its speedrun mode, encouraging you to beat the game as fast as you can with as few deaths as possible. While the average playthrough could take around 3 hours, any player could probably beat the game in under 30 minutes. However, if you're looking for more of a challenge, you can attempt to scavenge for all the trinkets hidden within the main game, some of which are much more difficult to obtain than others. Prize for the Reckless is one of the harder trinkets, demanding that you dodge checkpoints through several rooms in order to obtain it. One of the challenges, Edge Games, will have you racking your brain until you either brute force it or come up with a perfect strategy to beat it. And of course, there's the infamous doing things the hard way, highlighting the fact that your character is incapable of jumping over this tiny square to get the trinket on the other side. So instead you have to There's also a ton of bonus content for people seeking more out of the game. The Super Gravitron, the different worlds created by the developers of the game. No Death mode is pretty challenging. Flip mode is like playing the game for the first time again. V is short and simple, and therefore extremely replayable, and at this point I've probably beaten it like 10 times, making V my most replayed game ever. If you're interested in ever buying it, it's only $5 on Steam, so totally worth the price for its clever mechanics, fantastic soundtrack, and simple premise. And despite some of its bugs, slightly unfair levels, and basic style, V is still able to get away with an 8 out of 10. V is an indie platforming classic, and a must-play for any fans of the indie platforming or precision platformer genre, and still one of my favorite games.